Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show, special Tuesday night show. I like the Tuesday night shows, and I'd like to welcome your friend and mine, Shane. Good to have you back.
Hi, how's it going?
If those of you who know. If you know, you know. But Shane's channel is North Georgia Audit. He's been on my show twice. This is your third appearance. I think
My third time.
I think you're tied with the most appearances for any one guest.
No, that has to be K-Far.
No, Kfar's been on twice. My friend Steven has been on 3, maybe he's been on 4 times. And the only reason he comes on so much is because he actually comes down and visits me, and I say, "Sit in the chair. We're doing a live stream." Yeah, so
Nice.
welcome back. The last time, the other 2 times that we talked about you.
Yes.
And after the show last time, you had mentioned that you really like true crime, and I said, "Well, why don't you come on and cover something that's not audit related or, cop related or you flipping people off related."
There you go.
And we decided on
Expand my horizons, essentially.
Yes, exactly. People had commented that we have good rapport, and I said, "Let's do it. Let's talk about Samuel Little."
Yeah, true crime is something I've been into since I was younger. I've covered a lot of different cases, and this is one of them that kind of recently I found out about, and I was wondering to myself, like all these other cases that I've covered that were mainstream news. Why wasn't this as big of a story? Why don't I know this guy's name like I know
Yeah.
everybody else's? Wasn't his name synonymous with this? And then the more you get into it, it's just a crazy story, like how it happened
Yeah.
and how it was able to unfold.
It's crazy. I mean, I have some theories about why it wasn't mainstream news. There was other things going on in the world at the time and that sort of stuff, but we won't get into all of that. But I think, um, that there's so much media out there on this guy. This guy, Samuel Little, did over 700 hours of interviews. So if you wanted something to deep dive on, this is the one to deep dive on.
Yes.
There's just so much out there to, you know, to look at, to get into all the little details. So, let me say hello to the people who are here on a I it's very weird that I'm here on a Tuesday night. So, it might be a lot of people, it might be nobody, but we're gonna do it either way. So, hello to Patrick. Good to see you, Patrick. Erica, always good to have you here. Erica is, over there swinging the wrench over there in the chat, keeping everybody in line. I appreciate that, Erica. Highway Star. Screwed Up Rebellion, also always good to have you here. And as people come in, make sure you guys say hi to them. Tell them everyone's welcome here. We have no drama. We talk to everybody. Everyone is welcome, which is the same on your channel, I understand. Everyone's
Pretty
welcome.
much everybody's welcome, no
Yeah,
matter what you've got to say.
exactly.
Well,
So
for the
I
most
guess
part.
we'll just jump into it. I'm going to give a little background of Samuel Little's early life, right? And then we will we can't cover all of his victims, which I hate doing. I always like to focus on the victims when I cover a case like this, but there's 93 victims and we don't have time to do a 6-month series. So we've picked out a few and Shane and I are going to go over some of those for you guys.
Exactly.
So Samuel Little claimed to have murdered 93 people between 1970 and 2005. 60 of those have been confirmed by the FBI, and the way they did that is through they put his DNA into a database. So just the mere fact that they were able to confirm 60 of them makes me think that maybe it's more than 93. Like maybe he forgot some of them, you know.
It's a very real possibility with that many victims that when he went back and recounted a lot of the ones that hadn't been solved, there's a chance that he missed something, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I've covered cases on here before when I covered the Adam Walsh case, which is John Walsh's son. The gentleman who claimed to have killed Adam Walsh claimed to have killed all of these people throughout the United States trying to do what Samuel Little actually did, and they went through to confirm them, and they're like, "Nope, it wasn't you. Nope,
Yeah,
DNA doesn't match," and, like, none of them were this guy. This is the exact opposite case where
yeah.
they started confirming them, and it actually was, at least 60 of them that we know for sure. The FBI in their report says that Samuel Little is the most prolific serial killer in US history. So he was actually born here in Georgia, in Reynolds, Georgia, which is just down there in between Macon and Columbus.
Yeah.
I'm not as familiar with that area of Georgia, but
It's down there, it's a ways away from me. The Macon area is a nice
yeah.
little 3-hour hop, and it's grown up over since then, like, just in the last 15, 20 years, it's grown up a lot to, more of a metropolitan type place.
Yeah, I managed a shopping center in Macon, so I would have to go down there quarterly, so 4 times a year.
Yeah,
But I would go straight there to the shopping center that I managed, which was a Kroger, and then straight home, so I
straight back.
never really hung out in the
Yeah,
area. Excuse me. So he was born on June 7th, 1940 in, like I said, Reynolds. And Reynolds, Georgia, I just put this little tidbit of information in my notes for some reason, but Reynolds, Georgia was named after the first governor of Georgia, John Reynolds. And I had no idea who the first governor of Georgia was, but when I looked up Reynolds, Georgia, that's the first thing. They're very proud of that fact. So I thought I'd
Learn
let you
something
guys
new
know.
every day.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You learn something new every day. Sam was born, I'm calling him Sam. We go way back. We're good friends now. Samuel Little was born to Bessie May Little, and she was a 16-year-old prostitute and also a maid. And when she gave birth to Sam, his dad was one of her Johns, and he was a 19-year-old man named Paul McDowell. There's some reports that say that Samuel was born while his mom was in jail, but I can't confirm. There's a lot of stuff in here that I can't confirm because there's just not a history of it.
A lot of his early life before, going to boys' school is hard to confirm. There's a,
Mhm.
a lot of things that in his childhood, especially, that it's hard to get a for sure, yes, this
Yeah.
happened, or yes, this was the situation.
Well, with 700 hours of him on videotape telling his story, he just says a lot of stuff,
Yes.
and it could be, it maybe not. I think the born in prison part, actually, the authorities said, but there's no records of it either, so
Yeah.
you would think there'd be some sort of paperwork if somebody's born in prison.
Yeah.
Although in 1940, who knows? Everything was on paper. There could have been a flood or a fire or anything, and records are gone forever.
True.
Yeah. As a child, his family moved to Lorain, Ohio, and Little claims, this is another one of his claims, that his mother left him on a street corner. But his family disputes that this ever happened. His family says that, his mom was just so young and was a prostitute and was using drugs and things like that, so his grandmother raised him. We do know that his grandmother did raise him.
Yes.
And you were telling me something that you found that I didn't even know, that his grandmother, was abusive as well?
He mentions that in one interview that he was abused by many people.
Mm.
The boys' school that we'll talk about later that he wound up in, and also he claims that his mother and his grandmother both were abusive to him.
Yeah, spoiler alert, guys, I didn't watch 700 hours of footage of him talking, to prepare for this. I think I had a month to prepare for this episode, and I did not have 700 free hours in that time
Nor did I, but
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I actually didn't watch very much of the videos of him. I did most of my research just reading, um, which is unlike me. I'm not really good at reading, so yeah, I switched things up this time. So his hatred of women started at an early age.
yeah, and they would say that like his fear of abandonment and rejection and anger, like with his mother and maybe his
Mhm.
grandmother, like from his childhood, that later he would use that and that would be projected onto his victims,
Well,
like
if you look at his victim type really mirrors what he described his mother as.
yes, it,
So
it almost exactly.
mhm, exactly.
I mean, the
Uh,
vast majority of them were prostitutes. They were transient. They were,
mhm.
homeless and drug addicted, and that's,
Yeah,
as we'll see, that's why he was able to get away with it for as long as he did.
exactly. And if you see this a lot with serial killers, the Green River Killer was the same way, where he's killing prostitutes. They're
Hmm.
people that aren't missed, or if
Yeah.
they go missing, the people who are surrounding them just think, "Oh, they went on to a better life, or they moved on," or, they're not missed.
Yes.
So, Samuel Little started his criminal career early, as a teenager in 1954 with a theft charge. He stole a bicycle, I believe.
Yeah.
It landed him in juvenile detention, and his school record has 47 disciplinary reports against him. And you said that he, was abused in this
Yeah.
boys'
He
school
claimed
as well?
he claimed to have been abused in boys' school or the juvenile hall, whatever they were calling it, where he was at.
Mhm.
He claimed to have been abused by staff there. So
Yeah, so it's just he was set up for failure, although a lot of people on this planet are set up for failure and don't go on to murder 93 people, so
there's a little more
not
than just
sure
failure.
I'm not sure that's an excuse. He attended high school in Lorraine and dropped out before he's graduated, so he's a high school dropout. Um in his interviews post the murder conviction, he conducted by the FBI Behavioral Science Unit, Little said he started developing fantasies and fetishes in his early childhood. His fantasies started his fantasies of strangling women started his obsession with women's necks, and it started when his kindergarten teacher was teaching and just touched her neck, and he said that's when it all started, which makes me very, aware of doing, like, little things like that, which I shouldn't have to think about, right?
Yes.
But
That was strange when I heard that,
mhm.
that's one of your core memories that led you into this life is what he's claiming there,
Yeah,
whether it's, something he just made up for the sake of telling the story, who knows?
could
But,
be.
if that's true, that goes way back and way deep down in the psyche.
Exactly. And then in 3rd grade, there was a little girl with red hair and bulging green eyes, that's in air quotes, who stared at him while touching her neck on the playground. Also one of his core memories. He said
Yeah.
he believed that this little 3rd grade girl knew his dark weakness and was taunting him. Uh, Really psychological issues, I think we're
Yeah.
gonna point to
Yes.
there, right? Yeah. Around the age of 11 or sorry, 12 or 13, he started reading true crime magazines. I didn't know true crime magazines were a thing, but apparently they are, and, we'll bring this up on screen. Apparently, he really liked the ones that had any sort of strangulation going on. Uh, I'd never seen these true crime magazines before, but this just looks I don't know. I don't know. This
Strangle,
is
rinse, and repeat. That is the tagline for that.
this is 12 and 13-year-old kids reading this sort of stuff. Here's another
Wow.
one. Let me pull up another one where oh, I thought I had it. Hold on. That's that one. Yeah, this one's just as bad. Like, what are we doing here? Like, we're just letting kids read this stuff, apparently.
Wow.
All right, let me pull this back over here. So he started reading these magazines, and it really just, it really dug that core memory of his kindergarten teacher and that redheaded girl, I guess, all connected in his brain. After his first arrest, his crime started to get worse. He had arrests for fraud, DUI, assault, armed robbery, and rape. And the rape charge, I believe this is the one he pled down and didn't even serve
He
any
got well, the one rape charge, I know he got 3 months. They gave
3
him
months.
3 months
Okay.
for it, yeah,
3 months for rape.
yeah,
Like, all of this could have been prevented if we just punished the criminals.
and they're
This
talking about the '70s and '80s, I'd seen something that read that at that time, even judges didn't consider prostitutes to have been somebody you could commit a crime against, they
yeah.
just didn't look at it that way for a lot of judges, I guess.
I remember hearing that where if a prostitute got raped, it wasn't rape. Like,
Yeah,
because if you're selling your body, then how could ho I the whole thing is just crazy to me. I'm so glad we live in today, 2024, than back then, because that's just I mean, judges would do the same thing if somebody was wearing a short skirt. Well,
yeah.
she was asking for it. What was she wearing? Like, and I make that joke sometime, "Oh, well, what she was she wearing?" But that's a joke. I'm not serious. Apparently, they were serious about it back then.
And talk about being able to stop something catastrophic from happening in the future and letting them just slip through your fingers multiple times.
Exactly. Exactly, yeah. So, by 1975, he had been arrested 25 times across 11 states. In total, he had served 10 years for all of these various offenses, including the 3 months for the rape.
Yeah.
You would think the rape would be 10 years alone just on its
Yeah.
own, and then the fraud, the DUI, all this other stuff that I just rattled off would be even more time than that. In 2012, Little was located at a homeless shelter in Kentucky and transported to Los Angeles for an outstanding drug charge. And this is where his life changes forever. Now, keep in mind, one of the things I wanted to mention that I don't even think I put in my notes is most of his life he was homeless and transient and was not leading a good like he wasn't like killing it, well, that was a bad turn of phrase.
Wasn't a productive member of
Yeah,
society.
yeah, yeah, he wasn't.
He was killing it, I
He was
guess. I
killing
mean,
something. Um, yeah. Um, so once in custody, Little had his DNA tested, which established his connection to 3 homicides in California that took place between 1987 and 1989. The victims were Carol Eileen Elford, Guadalupe Duarte Apakdaka, and Audrey Nelson Everett. Let me put I can't share this because then I put a picture of all his mugshots that I didn't pull up, but you guys can Google his mugshots. There's a lot of them. He was arrested more than 100 times. Actually, they're in my thumbnail. If you guys look at the thumbnail, I did a little collage of all his mugshots for the thumbnail. Hold on, I repeated myself here. In 2014, a jury found him guilty of the murders of those 3 women, Carol, Guadalupe, and Audrey, and sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole because California. After Little's conviction, the FBI listed his information in the Violent Criminal Apprehension Program, which began finding strong links between his movements throughout the decades and a slew of unsolved murders across 19 states. So in August of 2019, the imprisoned Little pled guilty to killing 4 women in Ohio, including 32-year-old Anna Stewart. And I have a little news story about that. And this is him talking about, I wanted to play this is him talking about the women in Ohio.
Hey, tell me about Northern Kentucky, the girl that you met in Columbus. So you meet this girl, I guess you're at a strip bar downtown Columbus.
I went on my car, and this white girl come out behind the building. And I'm in my trunk. She walked over to me, say, come on, y'all, can you take me to Miami?
Describe this girl to me. She white, black, what she look like?
She was white, blonde hair, dishwater blonde, they call it. It's short.
Short, like shoulder length,
Yeah,
or
no, ear length, a little over the ear length.
like a bob?
Yeah, like a bob.
Okay, and how tall do you think she was?
She was about 5'7".
How much do you think she weighs?
She weighed about 130.
How old do you think she was?
Oh, she was about 25.
Okay. You mentioned before that you said she kind of had like this hippie aura to her.
Yeah, she did give you a hippie feeling. I think she was some kind of hippie, yeah.
So you go to Cincinnati, you mess around on Vine Street, and then eventually you guys both get in your car and you cross over the bridge into Kentucky. Tell me about going into Kentucky.
We got to Covington, and then we continued through Covington. Mm-hmm. And there was a park that they were having a festival there. And she heard the music and shit off that band in there. And by her being a hippie type, she wanted to get to that. But the police came over and peeked in our car. We really wanted me to move out of there. So instead of going in there, I took her the other way.
Right.
Winding around, they got hills down in Kentucky, and the road winds around the hills. I seen a little short road going up. Mm-hmm. the hill, and up top there was vegetation, wasn't no houses or nothing. And so I pulled up in the and concealed the car in that little vegetation up there on top of the hill.
So tell me about this road that goes up the hill. What kind of road is it?
It was like a dirt road.
Okay.
It was like dirt. The grass was growing in the middle between two tracks. When I left her up in that little road up there, on the side of that little road, she was like partially concealed by the vegetation. And I left her there.
My camera off. Hi, I'm back.
Hi.
That was Sam. He just seems so evil, doesn't he? Like, just
Yeah.
the way he's telling that story is just so creepy to me.
It's just like it was as normal as going to the store and getting groceries for him.
Yeah,
It just rolled off his tongue, and the details that he remembers. And one thing that's a common theme with him is the word vegetation. Not
mhm.
only does he use it a lot, and these descriptions of what he did, but he used vegetation a lot. Like he said there, to conceal his car. He and other murders, he used vegetation to conceal the murder itself or to conceal the body after. Like
Yeah,
that's his main way of getting away with these was vegetation in a lot of these cases.
vegetation. A lot of vegetation. Yeah. He let's see. By this point, okay, so for those he received 2 consecutive terms of life in prison and 2 consecutive sentences of 15 years to life on top of his prior California life uh life sentences.
Yeah.
But so by this point authorities said they had confirmed at least 60 of the killings Little had admitted to carrying out. They had confirmed 60 of them.
Yeah, and he wanted to help. Um, he wanted his confessions to help exonerate anyone who had been wrongly convicted in the past, for any of these murders. And he even said that, if I can uh, help get somebody out of jail, then God might smile on a little bit on me.
What a good guy.
Yeah,
What a
something
great guy.
to himself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. One of the main reason Little's murders went undetected for so long was that many of his victims and alleged victims were on the fringes of society. They were sex workers, they were homeless people, they were drug addicts. Most of his victims were Black women. Now, before we get into the rest of this, I gotta let you. I was about to say, hey, the dogs are here. They just left. Zena, get in your spot. The dogs are here, guys. Zena, get in your spot. It's camera time. So if you do decide that you'd like to support the show and want to super chat, as you know, my co-host Zena is always here, and she will get a treat if you decide to do that. Also, I want to remind you guys that if you support the show, you get entered into the drawing. And it's ad time. So it is ad time. Go to katiez.com. Nobody sponsors the show, so you got to buy a t-shirt. Go to katiez.com. You can pick up all of the merchandise there. The shirt that I'm wearing right now, this Crimeland shirt, it's very soft and comfortable. Get yourself one. You can also get Iggy Normus Jr.'s merchandise there. But what I really want to point out is the Christ is King merchandise, because all of the profits from this line of t-shirts and mugs goes to onemorechild.org, and they provide Christ-centered services to vulnerable children and struggling families. There's several designs. There's coffee mugs. There's t-shirts. That's it. That's the whole ad. Oh, and we have a new member. Thank you, Smith W. I appreciate it. And of course, anybody who supports the show, not only will you get into the drawing, becoming a member is great to do too. I forgot to tell you guys, but we have a game night once a month. And if you're a member, you can come up and play in the game night. We did trivia this last time. Hey, Zena, do you want a cookie from Smith? Did you hear Ava in the other room barking? Here you go. This is from Smith. Hey, thank you. Thank you so much for supporting this show, Smith. I appreciate it very much. Now, back to the regular scheduled murders. I'm going to let you get this next point, and I'm going to go strangle my dog. I'll be right back.
No worries. Um, according to the New York Times, Samuel Little told an interviewer one time, "I never killed no senators or governors or fancy New York journalists, nothing like that. I just stayed in the ghettos." And that goes back to how he was able to evade law enforcement and to stay, out of the eye of while he was committing these murders over decades. Was the people that he targeted were in the ghettos. He targeted people that didn't have people to look for them, or to even report them missing. That if they came up missing, most likely they'd say they just ran off doing whatever they do. That was his target.
Exactly. Thank you for saving the show there. Appreciate that. I'm thinking the Amazon guy is here. Not sure what happened. To this day,
Somebody was there.
somebody's here. Yeah. To this day, many of his victims remain unidentified, and many of their deaths were attributed to natural causes, drug overdoses or accidents. And we found this out because some of the ones that he confessed to, they went back and looked at it, and the coroner had put on there that it was a drug overdose, even though there's like ligature marks on the person's neck.
Yeah.
I think one of them, it was like ruled a suicide.
Yeah.
But she was found like half buried. she buried herself and then
There
suicide.
was many times he would be getting rid of the body and something would just happen that causes him a little bit of inconvenience in his disposal of his body, and he would just leave it wherever it was and then leave.
Well, these cases that I was looking at that are attributed to him now, it was just amazing to me, like in the 70s and 80s, how these people were closing cases. It was insane. Like, how do you rule something natural causes when there's literal bruising and petechia in their eyes and bruising around their necks? Like, what natural causes, really? Like,
and
it didn't matter because they were a prostitute.
You have to wonder how many of these did they actually go through the motions of performing a correct autopsy, or they just knew it was a prostitute, they knew it was a drug transit, and they just said put down whatever they put down.
Exactly. Little's method of killing started out by punching his victims. He'd punch them like out cold and then strangled them. He wouldn't use a bullet or stab wounds or anything like that. And so it was difficult to detect foul play. The Los Angeles Police Department gave him the name the Choke and Stroke Killer. Why do they give people these crazy nicknames? By the way, they gave him that nickname because he often masturbated while he was strangling his victims. I didn't even want to say that sentence out loud, but I did. But you notice that, like, all of these serial killers, they always end up giving them a nickname, and I just don't know why they do that.
It's normally the newspapers and the press that give them the nicknames,
Yeah.
But in this case, it sounds like the police department actually labeled him that.
Yeah, we know how the LAPD was back in those days. So, I mean, Oh, man. So California, there was approximately 25 victims in the Los Angeles area alone. We're going to go over some of these cases. Like I said, I started to write out, and Shane will see on my notes that I sent you. I like crossed out many of them. I started to type out a paragraph for each victim. And then we were at like 25 pages, and I'm like, we're gonna narrow it down to a couple from each state.
Yeah, and you were still in just California with that first 25 pages.
And I decided to exactly. So we're gonna go over some of them so you guys can see kind of his MO and how he got away with this for so long and that sort of stuff. So Los Angeles, California, Black female between and some of these dates are not exact because he doesn't remember when it happened. And of course, there's no, if the body hadn't been discovered yet, if he tells them the story and then they don't know either because it's been so long, they can't narrow down an exact time of death. So, all right, Los Angeles, California, black female between January 31st and February 1st of 1987, shortly after getting out of prison and while still on parole, Little met a black female wearing shorts near Central Avenue in Los Angeles. Little went to a drug dealer's house, and the drug dealer pimp told the female to leave with Little. Little walked down Figueroa Avenue with the woman, then turned left onto Florence Avenue. Little bought some dope with the female, and then walked back down Figueroa Avenue to a vacant house located next to Florence Avenue. And this is not a good neighborhood, guys, by the way. This is like a lot, like these street names are ringing a bell to me from watching like
Florence.
like Florence and Normandy, like all of
Yeah.
that area where all those riots happened back in the 90s. This is the same area. So they're in a vacant house located next to Florence Avenue. There was a gas station on the corner of Florence and Figueroa, near where the vacant house was. There was a garage right in front of the vacant house with only a hook on the door. There was a fence, and the fence faced Figueroa Avenue, and there was a driveway on this house. This is the description that Little is giving to let the police know. Like, this is what he remembers from each of these crimes, by the way.
Yes.
So some of the stuff I'm going to say right now is it's him describing it. Okay. Little entered the garage with the female. There was a wide ledge or shelf around the interior of the garage. Little described the black female as having a big butt and being approximately 23 or 24 years old. The woman was dark-skinned, stood approximately 5 feet tall, and weighed approximately 140 pounds. Little got onto the shelf with the woman, the ledge that was around the outside. The woman began playing with her necklace, and then Little strangled her. Now, her playing with her necklace reminds me an awful lot about that little girl with the red hair staring at him from across the playground, and I bet that triggered him like that. Like,
There's
as soon as she...
There's
And
a few instances where he mentions
Mhm.
women touching their necks, that these women that he murdered, that he mentions, they touched their neck, and he
Yeah.
brings that up in these stories a lot.
Yeah. So she plays with her necklace, and he like pounces on her and strangles her. The woman fought, and they both fell off of the shelf onto a wide platform. Then Little strangled the woman to death while sitting on the woman's back. The black female was left fully clothed, lying on a board on an elevated platform on her stomach. Approximately 2 weeks later, Little walked past the garage, and the garage had yellow police tape on it, which tells me they must have found her. And then a few weeks after that, he walked by again, and the whole garage had been torn down. They had razed the garage. That's one case. Another thing I wanted to point out, a lot of times he says he chokes them and then lets them come back to life and chokes them again.
There's at least
It's
2
like...
cases that I read that they let them regain consciousness and then choked them again. Yeah.
Yeah, so creepy.
It's like a cat playing with its food or something, like
Exactly.
that's what it reminded me of, just reading that.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing I wondered, in 2012 when they arrested him on the drug charges, and I couldn't find anything on this, was what led them to want his DNA to try to connect him to these other murders, unless it was just his criminal history of the 2 cases that he beat before, that they just suspected that he could be involved in something else. But
I think this was right around the time that they were just collecting anybody's DNA anytime you were arrested.
okay, and it just pinged off and come back.
And they put it into that database, and
Yeah.
then
I
these
didn't know if
unsolved
they had
cases...
suspected him, or if they had come up with his
Yeah.
name, or and I just couldn't find that. But yeah, that would make sense if they just were collecting in all DNA, and then it just pinged back for a few of these
Yep.
murders, and that's how they linked them. Yeah,
That's how they linked them to the first ones in California. And then I think he just started
he just
talking.
confessed. Yeah,
Yeah, he
well,
just
actually,
confessed to 90 more.
he maintained his innocence at his sentencing
did.
hearing,
He
and then he later confessed to a Texas Ranger. I believe was the first person that he started
Yep.
telling the stories to.
Yep. Sorry, give me 1 second. All right. Did you want to get the next one?
Yeah. Approximately, it was Los Angeles, California, between February and April of 1987. He was driving his black Thunderbird. Little met a slender 5'7" to 5'10", 120-pound, pretty yellow-skinned black female, who he referred to as a crackhead. It was at a Tam's hamburger stand located on 51st Street and Central Ave in Los Angeles, California. The woman lived in a motel next to the hamburger stand, and she was wearing what he described as a mini skirt style sundress. She got into his vehicle. They drove down to a laundromat on Central Ave, closer to downtown area. He again parked near vegetation in the parking lot of the laundromat. Him and the black female, they both got into the back seat, and he strangled her until she passed out. And then he again allowed her to come to. And after she came to, he strangled her again, this time until she died. Then he drove all the way out Central Avenue till he got to a 7-Eleven convenience store. He pulled her into a vacant lot next to the convenience store, and then dragged her, and she got caught up on a rail, is what it says, that he just left her on the iron pipe there, 20 feet away from the convenience store. And there were trees and a lot of plants and
Oh,
other
oh,
vegetation and all, and
vegetation.
a lot of vegetation, a lot in that
Yeah.
vacant lot. Yeah. And again, he just used it. There's instances where he just rode them down hills, or he left them underneath billboard signs by the interstate. He would leave them anywhere and everywhere.
Yep. Yeah, I put these drawings up. These are drawings that he did of his victims. So I wanted to put these on the screen so these are the women that we're talking about right now. This is what he remembers of them.
And
It
many of
is
these drawings led to them being able to identify some of these victims. And it also did lead to one that I know of, person that was convicted of a murder that was wrongly convicted. Did set him free, found him exonerated.
Yeah, that is a good thing about him confessing to all these, is that
Yes.
they're, the one was the boyfriend, I think, that was
Yes.
convicted of it, and
Mhm.
it was here in Georgia, that one.
Yeah, that was in Georgia.
It's so creepy that he remembers their faces so well that he was able to, years later, this happened, some of these in the 70s, and he was able to draw their pictures. What's
The
up with these?
detail that he
Yeah.
remembers on some of the mini skirts and this black sundress and this and that. He remembers a lot of detail about their appearance, what they look like, what happened that evening, things like that. He just remembers a lot.
Yeah, and I notice in every one of these drawings, their necks are prominent. They're definitely in every one of these drawings.
That was one of the ways he picked his victims, was based on what their neck looked like. He said in the interview he doesn't like bigger women because their neck is too big. He doesn't.
He can't fit
look
his
at their
grubby
neck.
hands around them.
Yeah, exactly what it was. Yeah.
So we're still in Los Angeles. And we're in Compton now. Black female, approximately March or April of 1987. Little met a 5'5" to 5'6", 120-pound, approximately 19-year-old, young, honey-colored black female, crackhead gangbanger, air quotes, in Compton. The woman was a blood and had a red bandana on. She had tattoos on her body. Little took the woman to a parking lot in Compton, strangled the woman, who fought vigorously to death. So she fought back. She was feisty. She wasn't. She didn't just lay down and die. This one. Little drove the black female to the hills, out towards Hollywood. He drove on a winding road around the hills with where it was fenced in. He ended up near the Hollywood Hills. Little pulled to the side of the road near a fence with heavy vegetation. Vegetation again. On the other side of the fence there was a hill or a drop off on the other side of the fence. Little picked up the black female and attempted to throw the woman over the fence. The black female got caught on the fence. Little eventually pushed the woman all the way over the fence. He could hear the woman roll at least halfway down the hill. The black female was fully dressed. The fence was chain link and approximately 5 foot tall, the fence and the woman. Little believed he drove west out of Compton towards Hollywood. I'm just looking at the pictures to see if any of them have a red bandana on. They do not. Did I? Okay. Do you want me just to keep going?
I just didn't see it on here. Well, I think we're at the Miami, right?
Yeah, we'll
Or
go to
Florida?
Miami.
So there were 8 victims at least in Florida, right?
Yes.
So Miami, this was like 1971 or 72. Could have even been 78 or 79. He wasn't sure. He dated an ugly, dark-skinned Haitian woman. Those were his words. She was 26, 28, 5'4" to 5'8", 120, 130 pounds. So you see a consistency in their size and their, the description of these, the physical description of them. He said that she had not light hair. It was plaited up and kind of braided, straight and stiff. He either picked her up in Homestead, Miami area, walking down the road, or maybe it was at a bar. He couldn't remember that part. But he did say that she had a big mouth. She was rough talking. She was a little black skinny girl, not very feminine, but she was hardworking from what he said and tough. She was apparently a civilian employee at the Homestead Air Force Base. He believed she was a prostitute. He took her a short distance from the road into the woods and killed her on base property. He believes that he left her property there in the weeds on the base, or it might have been just like in a field next to it. He wasn't sure about that part. There was water near where he left the body. He did remember that, and that he said someone should have found her, where he left her at. He fully expected somebody to find her, because he just leaves people wherever he leaves them at, really.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna go to a video now. I messed that up. I read the wrong one, so that was my bad, not you, by the way.
No, it's okay. I just lost my place.
It's because I had all of I should have just deleted the ones that we weren't gonna do. Instead, I crossed them out because I wasn't sure if I was gonna put them back or not. So, that's my bad. But we have a video about Marianne.
Mary Ann.
She's what you nowadays they call a transgender.
She's a black male dressed up as a female. Okay. How tall is she?
Marianne's about 5'7", 5'6". She weighed about 135.
Okay.
Maybe 140.
And how old do you think she was?
But she was 19.
Okay. And where was she from?
No, Miami, down in Liberty City.
Okay. And did she, you mentioned before she had a boyfriend, or she talked about a boyfriend?
Named Wes.
Wes?
Yeah.
And tell me about where you met her at.
I seen her down at the Guar on 17th Avenue, and she had on a short cream miniskirt.
Mm-hmm.
Cream and red. So then this opportunity popped up.
Mm-hmm.
Take her to the store.
Right.
Instead of me bringing her back to the apartment, I went down 27th Street. That's going down to Fort Lauderdale, called the Alligator Alley. It runs into Alligator Alley.
Right.
But the further out you get, the further you get out of Miami.
Right.
And you got vegetation.
Now, how far outside of Miami do you think you were?
It wasn't too far to Miami, right there. I was in my stepdad's car, Pontiac Le Mans.
Now, where'd you take her to?
Continue down 27. Got back on 20.
Going outside of Miami. Okay.
Miami.
Going away from Miami.
Going away from Miami. We got down past the let's say limits. So I continued on toward Fort Lauderdale, and I seen a road going off the main road back into vegetation on the left side. So I got out of the car, pulled her out, and drug her into the growth back there, and pulled her deeper into there's a path. A little path was running somewhere. I don't know where it led it to, but it was running deeper into the undergrowth. It's like Everglades like that. And we ran into some water running. But before we got to the water, the earth was mushy. I turned her loose, and she fell into it face down.
And how far outside of Miami do you think you were?
About a mile, 2 miles.
What year did Marianne occur?
72.
Okay, 1972.
Yeah, this guy. Could you imagine meeting him just like on just the side of the road or just meeting him anywhere? He's just so creepy. Every time I hear his voice, it gives me the chills.
And that's the way a lot of these people met him. They either just met him casually at a bar, many of them walking down the road, just picking him up on the street corner. They just came across him, and some of them he spent days with before he actually killed them. Some of them that he would spend nights with them or take him back to wherever he was staying and then kill them a couple days later.
Yep. Yeah. So we're going to go to Fort Myers, Florida now. So he's just all over the place. We were in California, we were in Miami. Now we're in Fort Myers, which is on the other side of the state. Little stated in the summertime of approximately 1984 or 1990 or 1991. He's not sure. He killed a black female in Fort Myers, Florida. Little described the woman as being 26 or 28 years old and about 5'6" to 5'7", and anywhere between 130 and 160 pounds. Now, this one kind of got me because of the reason I included this one is because of just the wide description he gives here, not only of the time. He remembers that it was summertime, but it could have been 1984 or the 90s, like the early 90s, one or the other. And 26 to 28 is not that wide of a range, but 130 to 160 pounds is a huge weight difference, like especially for somebody who's 5'6" or 5'7".
There's a lot of things I don't know. There's a lot of things. I don't think he was very dishonest. I don't think he told lies when he told these stories to the investigators. I do believe he withheld a lot of information in some cases. I believe he withheld a lot of the victims in some cases. I believe there are victims he'll never talk about. Because one thing he didn't want,
now he won't, right?
Yeah. One thing he didn't want is he didn't want to be known as a rapist, even though he had rape convictions. He did not want to be known as a rapist. He hated that. He didn't want to be known as somebody that took it from them.
And I'm almost positive he raped most of these women.
Many,
His
if not most, or all.
ejaculate was found on them. So, and he says he masturbated while he was strangling them. But how are you strangling them and masturbating at the same time? Don't you need both hands for that?
I believe the stories to be true. I believe many of the descriptions. I believe there's things that he told them that the victim didn't even look exactly the way he described because he wants to. I believe he played his own game with them because that's all he had to do. Like this was the highlight of his life at this time when he's in prison is being able to get out of his cell and come talk to people about all these murders.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing is that this gives him some sort of reprieve from just sitting in a dark room all day long. You know what I mean?
And he seems like the type that he enjoys the notoriety and he enjoys, people knowing what he did. And he probably feels gypped that his name isn't out there as much as it should be. I would assume. Not now, he doesn't, but he did.
I'm kind of glad it's not. It kind of drives me nuts when people idolize these serial killers, like the Jeffrey Dahmers and that Netflix thing just came out recently, or Ted Bundy was a couple years before that.
Yeah.
It bothers me. It bothers me a lot, especially when there's killers who these women are writing them letters in prison and throwing themselves at them. Like, there's something mentally wrong with these women, you know? Sorry, let me get back to Fort Myers, Florida, real quick. So Little described her as a Black female. She had dark brown skin and a nice body, quotes. Little stated he originally met his victim 2 years prior, stated that he and Jean, Little's longtime companion, used to go to her family's house in a Black neighborhood behind or possibly on Nelson Street and sell clothes to them. Little believed the woman he killed was the daughter of the woman he and Jean used to sell clothes to. So this is somebody that he knew, which is unusual for him, by the way.
Yeah.
It's usually strangers that he kills. The woman lived with her mother down the street from a liquor store. Little said he and Jean were staying at a hotel downtown, and they sold clothes to the woman's family. On the day he killed this woman, Little saw the Black female outside of the liquor store on Nelson Street, and she had shorts on, and she was nice looking. Nice looking, it says twice, with the shorts on. She was very nice looking with these shorts on. So creepy. Little stated the Black female was mad about her husband or somebody, and stated that the woman got into his car and drove her to an island in the road in a wooded tract of land near the railroad tracks, again with the vegetation. Little strangled the Black female to death and then left her body in the short grass with the woods right next to it. Little stated that he left the woman in a grass aisle outside the city that wasn't far outside the city, but it was near railroad tracks, and the train ran by. Little stated, I think I got back on her. What's that highway that runs from Naples all the way up to Tampa, Fort Myers, that main highway? I think it might have been 75. Little thought the Black female lived in the house that Jean used to sell clothes at. Little stated that the family lived in the house on Nelson Street. He repeated himself a lot. Very quickly, Erica, thank you very much for buying the gift memberships, and welcome to the new members. Zena, come here, please. Thank you.
And just quickly, in case anybody heard a bang, I have a ghost in my house and it doesn't like pictures on the wall.
Gotcha. Come here, Zena. Thank you, Erica. Zena thanks you. I'm giving her 2. You want one more? Thank you. You got eye boogies. There you go. All right, hop down. Awesome.
So there's another one in Tampa Bay or Clearwater.
He's not really sure.
He's not sure. One or the other. And he's not sure on the year. It could have been 77 or 78 or possibly 83 to 84. He's not sure. He met a 23-year-old. She was about 5'5", 140 to 160. Short. He called her chubby. Black female. And it was at a bar in Clearwater or St. Pete. Wasn't sure about that part.
I mean, they're right next to each other, so I can see that.
Yeah. It's a lot of the same area, and
it's like one long beach, and
And he was driving a black Thunderbird at the time. He stated that the woman had a dark complexion, and her skin he described as leather colored. She was dancing in a bar when he met her. He said that she was wearing some sexy shorts in quotations, but wanted to go home and change. He drove her to her house, and it was in a black neighborhood somewhere, apparently. So she could change clothes. And when Little arrived at the woman's residence, the Black female took her shorts off and put on a black skirt. Little stated that about 5 of her little siblings, sisters and brothers, came running out. They were yelling his name, Sam. I don't know how they would have known him. He didn't talk about that, but
I just can't imagine then killing this person, knowing that she's got all of this family that loves her.
it didn't even hesitate. Left from there. in his vehicle,
Mm.
and told the woman he was going to Lakeland, and he drove her to a beach. He got his vehicle stuck in like barbed wire and sand, and he said several quote unquote white boys who were drinking beer helped him get out of the sand. He drove her to another, again, vegetation, grassy, wooded area,
Mhm.
not far from the beach. There were railroad tracks nearby. Um, he said he first saw buildings and then saw vegetation. He drove her to an island of grass with a curb around it, and he stated he found this grassy lane, some grass in the woods over back there, and we parked. I know there was a railroad track that ran across this one because I'm looking right at the train go by, and the man up in the window, the engineer, sit up there going woo woo, and I waved as he went by. Um, he said it was headed out of Tampa toward Plant City, and he said that the woman was wearing that bad tight mini skirt, quote unquote. Um,
So it's her
and
fault, obviously. She
yeah, it
was
was
wearing
her
a
fault.
miniskirt.
And he said that she left her underwear in his car, that he almost took them draws as a trophy. Uh, and then he strangled the
Wow.
woman. Yeah. And then he strangled her and left her near the railroad tracks on the grass, just kind of out in the open. Yeah. Just out of
I
nowhere.
It seems like he's using these, grassy islands a lot. And now every time I drive down the highway, I'm gonna see, especially you see it down there, like, from the trip here down to Florida, you see it a lot,
Yeah.
where in the middle of the road, there's just these woods that who would ever be in there? Who would ever find somebody in there if you left a body in there? No, like, nobody
Especially
goes
somewhere hard
there.
to get to. Like a lot of times, in these 60 confirmed cases that there are,
Mhm.
he would find hills with deep vegetation and just roll the body down there because
Yeah.
you imagine how hard it is to get down there and back out. Like nobody's just going down there for no reason.
Yeah, well, and the thing about the islands in the middle of the interstate is that if it's wooded, there's not gonna be landscaping crews back there.
Yeah.
There's not going to be hunters back there. Like, a lot of times hunters find bodies in the woods and stuff. There's just gonna be nobody back there
Yeah.
at all. Oh, man. So we're gonna move to Georgia. I did wanted to include some Georgia cases in here since that's where both of us are, you know?
Yeah.
So we're gonna go to Atlanta, Georgia, a town that both you and I are familiar with. In
Yes.
approximately 1981, did you live in Georgia your whole life?
I have my entire
You have?
life. Yep.
I have not, but my grandmother lived here my whole life, so I'm sure in 1981 I was here because every year in the summertime, we would come down for at least a month. My grandmother lived in Decatur, Georgia, and we would come down and visit her, as a kid. So I'm sure in 1981, I'm old too, by the way, guys. So in 1981 in the summertime, I'm sure I was here in Georgia for a month.
You're
Um,
dating yourself because I wasn't
I
even
really
born then, and I'm old.
I am dating myself. Um, I was little at that time. So approximately 1981, Little stated he killed a woman in Atlanta, Georgia. Little described the woman as a black female with mahogany skin. I'm wondering if, like, the way he's describing these skin colors, I'm wondering if, just because I have his drawings up on the screen, I'm wondering if he's looking at the crayon box and, like, this is the color that's described on the side of the crayon, because some of the way he's describing these colors is kinda weird.
And it's, yeah, strange how a lot of the victims, their descriptions. I've watched that video where he's in the blue jumpsuit describing many of these ones that
Mhm,
they're trying to solve.
mhm.
And his description on a lot of them almost seemed to be the same person. Other
Yeah,
than the skin tone might change, the hair color
mhm.
might change. Sometimes it's a white woman. That's, some things vary, but with most of them, it tended to look like the same size, the same height, the same
Yeah.
weight. It was a lot of them were similar.
He had a type for sure. Well, there was that
Yeah.
one transgender, but I bet he didn't realize she was transgender before he killed
Yeah,
her.
yeah, that's good possibility. He
So,
claims to know that now, but
yeah.
you know,
So a black woman, mahogany skin, the color of leather. There was another one he described as leather skinned.
yeah. Which
Uh,
is weird. Leather's
c-
more of a texture, like because it can be
I
multiple different colors.
I was gonna
Like
say leather's not really a color.
yeah,
Like you could have
yeah,
all sorts of different color leather.
yeah.
She was in her late 20s to early 30s. Stood approximately 5'6" to 5'9", weighed between 130 and 160 pounds again, which is such a wide range. I think of my between 130 and 160 as my weight range. Like that's what I fluctuate. And the difference I see in the mirror of when I'm 130 to when I'm 160 is a huge difference.
Yeah,
And I'm 5'6".
yeah.
So, you know. Um, all right. She wore shorts that were made to look like a dress. Little danced with a woman at a bar on Auburn Avenue. He believed the black female was having problems with her boyfriend. The black female agreed to leave with Little, but did not want anyone to see them leave together. Mistake on her part. Little went outside to his vehicle, a 1967 Lincoln Mark III. A few minutes later, the black female came over to his car and sat on the front right fender and began to cry. The black female eventually got into Little's car. After she looked around to make sure nobody saw her get in, she then laid down so no one would see her. The woman directed Little to Interstate 75 and he headed south into the country. Little did not think he drove far before exiting the highway onto a side street under construction. Little described the road as wide but lonesome. There wasn't no houses, nothing but trees on the road right off the highway. Little followed the road until it ended and then parked in an area with woods on both sides. Little said he choked the woman and that she defecated all over herself in his vehicle. That's a little bit different than deflected.
Yeah.
uh, Little started choking the woman and she defecated all over herself in the vehicle. Little strangled the black female in his vehicle, then carried her body across the street and laid her down in the grass approximately 10 feet into the woods. Little stated that he left the black female with her clothes on and her eyes closed. She looked like she was asleep. Little then went back to his hotel and utilized a bucket full of soapy water to clean off his seat. The manager of the hotel, who was wearing an Atlanta Falcons hat, approached Little and asked what he was doing. Little stated that he thought he got disinfectant from the hotel manager. I bet that hotel manager didn't realize he was helping to clean up a murder scene.
And it's the details that he remembers. This guy
Mhm.
wearing a Atlanta Falcons hat, like things like that,
Yep.
that lend credibility to, okay, this guy's at least telling a credible story here, and the fact that they confirmed 60 of at least the 93 that he killed, like
Yeah.
just his recount of these stories and being able to go
Mhm.
back, you wonder how that sets into your memory. I guess it does set into your memory when you do things like that, but
Yeah. Yeah, you
um
would think.
so there was another one in Atlanta. This was approximately 84. He was driving a green station wagon. He killed a woman in Atlanta, Georgia. Little described the woman as a black female, approximately 22 to 25, um, slim and tall, like 5'9", weighing 120 to 130. Um, he met her at a quiet bar on the corner of Auburn Street in Atlanta. Little remembered when he entered the bar, the black female was sitting in a booth. Little thought the woman told him that she went to college and was angry because something had happened in college. Um, Later on, he went through her wallet and he found her college ID. He believed it to be from Morehouse College. Um, he then made a date with the woman and they left the bar together on a highway way out, quote unquote, way out, until he exited to a little dirt road surrounded by canals. Um, Little strangled the woman in his car, but then his vehicle would not start. Little stated a white boy in a hot rod gave him a jump start. Then he drove a long way down a side road next to the main highway, just one of those service roads. Um, and it led into woods, again, vegetation, adjacent to the canal. And it was barely big enough for 2 cars to get by. There were no houses in the area, and he placed the woman's body in the canal, and he thought that she fell into the water. Little stated, it wasn't like she was floating down the river. She hung up on something down there. They probably seen her the next day. Um, he believed she was still wearing a dress, and that he threw her boxy purse into the river with her. So
This one really got me, and the reason being she was in college. She
yeah,
obviously had a future in mind. It doesn't sound
just
like
snuffed out, like
she not that the other ones are okay,
yeah.
but the other ones were the most of his victims were prostitutes, drug addicts, didn't have a future in their head. She was working towards something. She was going to college. She could have been the next doctor or a lawyer. So, like, we don't know what she could have been. We
And
don't
it
even
probably
know
stands
who
out to
she
you,
is.
and it probably stands out to you because it wasn't his MO. That was not
Yeah.
what he went after. And why did he decide to do something like that this time? Because
Mhm.
a lot of the victims resemble his mother. They
Mhm.
resemble the life that she had and the life that she was on, that he claimed that she lived.
Yep.
So why did he go outside? Because this is the only case that I know of that was really outside of that spectrum of people that were on the fringes of society.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder why he decided to take somebody out like that.
I don't know. Let's let him tell a couple of these stories himself. These are so difficult to listen to, guys. I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to do it.
Vegas. Describe the Las Vegas victim.
That was in '93.
Okay.
I bought a Eldorado.
What color Eldorado?
It was a yellow.
Okay.
Oh.
Yellow Cadillac Eldorado.
Yep.
All right. What year?
78.
Okay. Well, tell me about this girl. What does she look like?
She was kind of thin, dark skinned, about 40 years old when she was out there hustling. I think she was a drug addict because she wouldn't have been out there.
How tall was she?
She was about 5'5", 5'3".
And how much do you think she weighed?
She weighed about 110, 120.
Okay. What about her did you know?
The boy came, that was her son. And she called him over there. And he came over, he shook my hand and everything. Yeah.
Now, how old was he?
He was about 20 or about 19, 20.
Okay, black male or?
Black male.
And where were you at when you met her?
It was on Owens Avenue.
Okay.
Owens, that's down in the black section. Owens and Jackson.
Where do you eventually take her body to?
I was headed toward California.
Mm-hmm.
So as I drove out of Las Vegas, I seen a motel and a road leading up to the motel. And there's a lot of bushes and brushes us beside the road before you got to that motel. That's where I pulled up her body out and rolled it down there. And I heard a secondary roll of noise. That meant she was still rolling.
So you basically roll her into a pretty big ditch that's got a bunch of...
Well, it wasn't a ditch, it was a slope.
Okay.
That didn't look like a slope because the vegetation had grown up out of the slope and looked like it was, you would think that the road would just be flat. Mm-hmm. But actually the road was going down, a slope like. And that's why she rolled.
So this is a slope right off the road?
Yeah.
Okay. And tell me about how far do you think you were outside of Las Vegas?
The road I was on was going towards Searchlight.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever the name of that road is, that's the road I was on.
How far outside of Las Vegas do you think you were? Were you in Las Vegas?
I was still in Las Vegas, yeah.
Okay.
But I was on the very outskirts.
All right.
The very outskirts. There was a couple of motels I remember, gas stations and there. It was scattered, because it was getting thin population as you go further out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was a Las Vegas one.
I believe there was Mississippi, Alabama, Texas. Yep. He just covered the entire country.
All over the place. Here's one from New Orleans. Or as they say down there, Nolans.
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 She was pretty, a light skinned, brown, honey colored skin. And she was about 5, she was about tall, she was tall for a woman, about 5'8", 5'9", and beautiful shape, and she's friendly.
And how much do you think she weighed?
She had a beautiful body, a beautiful 150, well put together.
And how old do you think she was?
She was about 30.
Okay. And she's a black female.
Yeah.
And tell me where you met her.
I met her in a nightclub in New Orleans. Her and her sister she had 2 sisters. Her and her youngest sister was having a birthday party. Her sister was dancing with this guy on the floor. And when I come in, the girl that I was with offered me to dance with me. And while we were dancing, she says, you want to go riding after this, after this party's over? We walked outside and she looked and seen my car at Lincoln. She said, ooh, that's a beautiful car too. So she had arm in arm, walking to the car. We got in, stopped at the gas station. We were on the Highway 10 and going toward Slide L. And I seen the sign say Little Woods. So I cut off, I took off the exit, went, and that sure enough.
He's like just drawn to the vegetation. He saw a sign that said
Sign said
woods.
Little Woods.
I gotta get to that vegetation.
It was a blinking sign for him,
Yeah. Oh, I'm pressing the wrong buttons. I was trying to turn the subtitles just automatically come on for me for some reason. Yeah, off. Okay, perfect.
Was a road leading into the woods. And we went in and parked. So we finally got to where we were going. It was by a bayou, a river, a little water thing. And the big, they had a machine out there in that little river.
Dredging?
Dredging.
Okay.
I grabbed her by the legs and pulled her to the water. That's the only one that I ever killed by drowning.
Describe the location where she's left.
Okay, I left her with her head still in the water, half her body in the underwater, and her thighs and legs on the bank.
Yeah, so
and that was one they actually later confirmed that was an actual case.
Yeah. He said that's the only one he killed by drowning, which is not part of his MO at all. So he did switch it up from time to time.
They asked him one time, did he ever use the literature, or did he ever use, anything to strangle anybody with? He said no, he always used his hands.
Just his bare hands.
Bare hands.
And this is the last one I'm going to play, but I just want you guys to pay attention to how almost giddy he gets telling these stories, reliving these moments. He, like I said at the beginning of the show, 700 hours of interviews. And Shane pointed out it might have been just because he wanted to get out of his cell for a little while. I assume he's just in a cell 23 hours a day.
Yeah.
And it's something else to do, different scenery. A lot of times also when the police investigators want to get information from you, they're going to give him things that he normally wouldn't get in prison. They're going to bring him fast food or cigarettes or, just the little things that don't cost the taxpayers very much, but will get him to open up and talk. So
yeah, they would definitely allow investigators like from the FBI or whoever to bring him in little prizes to be able to come out and talk, to give them that. I mean, back in the day, Charles Manson, they allowed some reporters with guys like Sam Little and these prolific guys. As far as reporters go, journalists, very few journalists really get to get their interviews. You might get a decent interview, but as far as on a repeated basis, there are some journalists that they let come in. This one, he dealt with a New York Times journalist for most of his interviews that were not police and interrogation related. And he talked a lot. And I think he liked telling these stories. I think he liked, getting this out there. And
He liked reliving the moments.
I think he enjoyed that more than anything. Just the way he talks about it, and he almost, just savors in it.
Yeah, so pay attention to like just his facial expressions and stuff when he's talking about these things.
About Northern Kentucky, the girl that you
Oh, we
met in
watched this one
Columbus.
already. I'm sorry. I had it queued up twice. I guess we've already watched the last one that I had queued up. My bad. We watched that one at the beginning. Let me see if I could find. I know there was another one that I thought I had something else queued up. So let me see if I can find it real quick. This is a live show, by the way. This is just how it goes on a live show.
That entire interview, I encourage anybody to seek that one out, because there's not a whole lot of journalist interviews with him on camera. There's that interrogation video is one of the few videos is easy to find. But it's hard to watch, but if you want to see how his mind worked, you can get a very good sense of who he was from that video.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm almost there. There's just so much information on him. I think it was this. Did we watch Little Rock, Arkansas? I think it was this one.
I don't think we watched that one.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't watch anything on Little Rock.
Okay. Here we go. I found that was actually quicker than I thought it was going to be. Found it faster than I thought.
Xena held us down, so it's okay.
Yeah. She's really the entertainment.
North Little Rock. Tell me what that girl looked like.
Oh man, I loved her.
Yeah,
I forget her name. Oh wait, I think it was Ruth.
Okay.
She was a heavy set, big old yellow gal, and had buck teeth. It had a gap between the teeth everywhere. And
he's remembering her like she's an old friend.
This is you can tell this is almost one that he hasn't thought about in a while too. Like she's just coming back to him. Like it's weird.
It's like this investigator reminded him of a friend from high school. Oh, I love that girl. She was so cute. She had buck teeth. Like
he even said that I loved her.
Yeah. So
and this is one of the few that I saw that he remembered their name.
Mm-hmm.
And she had her hair was not really long. It was.
How tall do you think she was?
She was about 5'7".
How much do you think she weighed?
She weighed about close to 200, about 170.
Pretty big girl.
Yeah.
Now, where did you meet her at?
Okay, down in the crack house. Her and about 6 other girls were sitting on the porch. The dude selling crack in there. I stopped to go in there. I seen the girl, that's why I stopped. We stayed together 2 days or more. I think about 3 days. We was going shoplifting. We went to Sears. We went to Kroger's, and that's where I got busted. Mm-hmm. They took me to jail, and she went and stayed in the car. And the manager of Kroger's, I guess he got tired of her laying on his property in that car. He called the station where I was at in North Arkansas to drop the charges. Mm-hmm. So he can come down and get this gal and car out of here. They cut me loose. So we was headed toward with that place where Walmart's original store been. I whooped off the road and back into that little woods. It was a cornfield back there. I pulled through it, and on the other side of the cornfield was a trash pile. I parked the car facing out where I could see anybody coming in. So I pulled her out of the car. She's too big for me to carry her. So I just pulled her out of the car and laid her on that trash that was lit there.
So was it like a cornstalk pile, or was it?
Yeah, a bunch of corn stalks.
What could you see from there?
I could see the highway, and in the woods is that way. But it's right outside of Little Rock. I was about 10 miles from it.
From North Little Rock, you think 10 miles?
Yeah, it was about 10 miles.
Okay.
And we got done sooner than I thought we were going to, so I pulled up another video of this is a different interview. He's wearing a different outfit.
I've seen bits and pieces of this one. I've never found the entire the entire
entire
investigative
thing.
interview. Yeah.
Let's see what he has to say here.
Somebody that you want to have sex with, or somebody that you might want to kill.
Samuel Little was one of the most prolific serial killer in
Oh,
US
I thought this was
history.
just the raw
No, that
thing.
what I've seen of that raw interview is only what you're watching right here. I was only able they show a few clips from it, but I've never been able to find the entire video.
No, I just want the video. I don't want to watch somebody else's YouTube video. Here we
Yeah,
go.
no.
Let's go over here and see. I think they play it about here.
When asked whether Gene knew about his extracurricular activities, shockingly, he said,
Women.
Yeah, she knows.
She didn't know that there was like killing going on.
No, she didn't know I was going that far.
Gene finally died, and
All
once
right,
again,
never mind. Never mind.
And one thing we didn't touch on was Gene Dorsey, who was with him until '88.
Oh yeah, tell us about Gene.
Gene was locked up in jail, and it was the same. No, it wasn't the same woman, but it was he got caught shoplifting with another woman, and that woman was going to testify against him. Well, she said this to Gene, being locked up in a cell with Gene, and Gene told him somehow apparently the jail they were in was dilapidated, and people were able to communicate through like cracks in the walls.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And Gene somehow got word to him that this woman was going to testify against him, and he was able to prepare with his lawyers, and he beat that case. So they get out and they form a bond, and that was in the late 70s. She's with him, travels with him. They commit. She actually teaches him how to shoplift. She was a master shoplifter. Then she
How
died.
does
in
one become a
1988.
master shoplifter?
Get really good at it. I don't know. I have no idea, but I've heard stories of the way people shoplift, and some of them just walk right out with buggies full of stuff and see how far you can make it. Depending on which state you're in, you're going to get away with it now sometimes. So
Yeah, well, Walmart's cracking down on that now too. I heard stories about Walmart. They don't bust you right there while you're there.
yeah, they get you later.
Yeah, they videotape.
Yeah,
They wait till you get over a certain amount, and they add it all up, and they get your license plate number, and then they send the cops to your house afterwards, which is kind of crazy. It makes me double check everything I'm scanning at the self checkout. I'll tell you that much.
don't want to
'cause
be
I'm
a skip scanner because you
I
never know when they're
know!
just gonna
Like,
roll up in your work and throw you in handcuffs.
I don't want to just
You
like
didn't scan that laundry detergent.
make a mistake, like accidentally leave something like a case of water or something under the cart that I forget about or something. They're gonna come knocking on my door. It's
And
terrifying.
it's a shame that Gene wasn't around after he got busted and able to tell her side of the story, because she was with him for 18 years of
She
what we
had to
know
know.
that he confirmed that he was active in murdering people. And people wonder, with them traveling all around, how could she have not known anything? He said she didn't, but whether she
Well,
insisted him or she just turned a blind eye, or she
a
stayed at
lot of
home.
times they say like the significant others don't know, but then you think, how could you not know something was up? Although he was strangling them, so he wasn't coming home all bloody,
That's
right?
true too. Yeah. And she was much older than him. I think she was 20 something years older than him.
Yeah.
So and he even described their bond as more of a companionship more than like an actual relationship. But they were together, traveling together from the state to state, every couple of years here and there. And she was just an important to the story. She did die in '88, and I'm sure he was buck wild after that. But
Yeah.
what do we really know? There's so much information, and so much of it's been confirmed that
Mhm.
it leads you to believe there's even more than what is even suggested.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so 93 is what he claims. The FBI says 60, but the FBI says that that's just what's confirmed. So there could be more where there just wasn't any DNA left, or they never found the body. Like he said, oh, it was here and they just never found it for whatever reason, you know.
One he claims was eaten by alligators. The one he drove off in the Everglades, he claims it could have been alligators to devour it. He would have been surprised if they didn't. But a lot of these, he say, I'm surprised that nobody found them the next day where I left them at. You know,
Yeah, I'm wondering, do alligators really eat the whole
I don't
body
think
of
so. They leave a
somebody?
mess. They leave a mess. I'm pretty sure.
Like, is this a Dexter episode or something? You know what I mean? Thank you very much, Erica, for the $2 super chat. Xena does look like she needs to be woken up. So, hey, Xena, do you want to try to catch number 2? Are you number 2 and I have a game that we're playing where we're betting on if Xena can catch this or not. So, hey, Xena, you ready? You got to sit up or I'm never going to win. Ready? Didn't even try. didn't even try. All right. No, she missed both of them. Oh, well. So Sam Little died.
He did, which is fortunate.
It is. I'm kind of sad that the state didn't take care of it for us, but God took care of it for us. So, like with all of these murders, you would think that one of these states where he convicted them or was convicted in would have the death penalty and actually use the death penalty.
I'm not sure about Ohio, and I'm not sure if he was ever convicted of any of the murders in Georgia. But you wonder why one of those states didn't step up and say, "Hey, send him over here. Let us get ours," and then go ahead and do what they wanted to do. But with the death penalty, he would have just sat there for 20 or 30 years anyway, feeding off the tit even more than what he did. He would have got more,
that's true.
Comforts. They did a lot of comforts on death row, from what I've heard. So.
Well, and also they have to do like if you're on death row, there's going to be like automatic appeals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That have to go through. So.
And you got to wonder, like with the shame is he did not spend as much time in prison as he should have. He was arrested in 2012 and convicted in 2014. So, and then he died in 2020. He spent 8 years in prison for these murders.
That's it.
He got away his entire life with doing this.
Exactly.
Then he spent, a combined 10 years in and out of prison early on, but
still that's 20, like not even 20 years.
No.
So
18 years.
All right, let's hear about his death.
America's worst serial killer has died. His name was Samuel Little, and he confessed to more than 90 murders. He claimed 20 of his victims were in the Los Angeles area. Little was convicted in 2014 of killing 3 women in South LA, but claimed many more. He was serving 3 consecutive life sentences at the state prison in Lancaster. The cause of death is under investigation, but authorities say tonight foul play was not involved. In 2018, Little began to reveal that he had murdered 93 people in 19 states starting in 1970. He told investigators and 60 Minutes that most of his...
I'm just going to pause it here on these women's faces. Look at all of these beautiful women. Like, I don't care what they were doing in their lives. They did not deserve to die the way that they did.
No, nobody does,
They're young, they're old, there's white, black, they're just all of these women and that one guy, but mostly women.
His victims were women struggling with addiction or prostitution.
I got away with numerous murders of women in my life over a span of 50 years.
Where did you kill the most?
Oh, that's easy. Florida and California.
Yeah. What city did you kill the most in?
Miami and Los Angeles.
And how many did you kill in Los Angeles?
Los Angeles, approximately 20.
Now, one of those LA victims was 41-year-old Carol Alford. In 1987, she was strangled and left to die in an alley at East 27th Street near downtown LA. When Little was arrested and charged with her murder in 2013, it was, as you can imagine, a big relief for her daughter who had been waiting all those years for justice.
I was really, really, really excited. I was happy. I was discussing it. I had thought they had given up, but I do thank them from the bottom of my heart.
And the FBI tonight is still trying to solve dozens of cases Little has taken responsibility for.
Like, that's something you don't think about, or I didn't think about either, is that the closure that his confessions bring to all of these families who never knew what happened. Some of these happened as early as 1970, and
Yeah.
just having no idea what happened to your mom or your daughter or your sister has to be difficult. And,
And
that
to find out
woman.
the way that it happened, and like
Yeah.
a lot of times, like the ones we've talked about before that were labeled, as drug overdoses, and to
Mhm.
finally get the truth, my mom didn't die of a drug overdose. She was
Yeah.
actually murdered.
I don't know
Um,
if that's any better, but
no,
you
no. He claimed that his last murder was 2005, 7 years before he was, actually caught and charged on these murders. But
I
you
don't
know,
believe that.
I don't believe that he started in 1970. Those are his words. The
Mhm.
1970 to 2005 are what he
Mhm.
claims, and I believe at 30 years old, it's just unlikely to me that that's when he started. I believe
Yeah,
it goes further back. I believe there's ones that he didn't talk about because of maybe the situations he didn't want people to know about. There's
maybe
a
he
lot
knew the
more.
people, like
Yeah.
that one woman in Florida where he had some sort of, it wasn't like he knew them, but it was somebody that he had done business with, it sounds like, something like
I mean,
that.
somebody, their little siblings came running out calling his
Mhm.
name. So
Yeah.
some of these people he actually did know at least.
Mhm. Yeah. So that's it. That's the show. Is there anything that I left out or that you wanted to add? I know you were digging deep into this case before I even knew it existed. So
No, just the vegetation, man.
the ve
The
the
vegetation.
vegetation.
Um, yeah, the two murders. It's just unfortunate that he got off on the two murders. That's the biggest thing
Mhm.
I'd say. One of them he wasn't indicted by the grand jury for whatever reason. I wasn't able to figure that part out. The other one, he was actually acquitted and found not guilty of the
Yeah.
murder because of unreliable witnesses. The witnesses were looked at as being a part of that lifestyle, the drug
Mhm.
addicted lifestyle. So it's unfortunate that he made it off of those two, and many more suffered because of it. But it's if you're into this type of thing, to look at his mind is an interesting thing.
Yep. So the audience says you're doing an awesome job as a co-host, so that means we have to invite you back. So
Hey,
let me
thanks.
know what you wanna cover next for
Oh, I'm sure
sure.
I'm sure we'll talk about something at some point.
Absolutely. And if you all, Shane's channel is linked in the description. I suggest heading on over to his channel. I know you told me, I don't know if it's a secret or not, but I'm about to spill the beans. You're about to release some documents on your
I
channel
am.
coming up here in the next couple of weeks that
Yeah.
it's the original case that I covered with you, which is your case, and
Yes.
you are dropping the documents. And
Yeah.
I've seen the documents
The
already.
entire discovery pad. There's
Yeah.
some redacting that has to be done. There's some things that have to be done before I drop it. Um,
Yeah.
but everything's going to be there. So I am going to drop those documents. Just this is for the haters. I love the haters. I love the
Yeah.
people that are negative, and I love being able to put things into their face, and then still hearing the BS they may come up with after that. But yeah, I definitely am. It's something that I've wanted to do for a long time. Is
Mhm.
telling my story. The I've kept these documents for a reason because I've wanted people to see them. If
Yeah.
anytime I talk about my story, I point at these documents and say,
Mhm.
hey, these are you know what
They're
you need
out
to
there.
see. If you
Yeah.
have a question, just look at these and then you can come ask me anything. So
Mhm.
it's something
Well,
that's
and
important to me, but
that's what you did with me. You're like, "Here's the
sure.
documents," and I read through all of them, and I'm like, "You got railroaded, dude, like, this is
I gave
ridiculous."
these I gave
Like
these documents to a investigative reporter from
Mhm.
from Fox, and he went
Yeah.
through them, and he called and asked me a couple questions, and
Mhm.
so I'm not afraid of these at all, and it's something that I've wanted to do for a while. So just if you're into that type of thing, you can look out. We're going to go through it page by page.
Yeah. And definitely before that happens, go back and watch the first episode that Shane's on. I'll link that in the description afterwards too, where we do go through your whole story. So watch that first, and then you'll be ready to know what's going on when Shane releases his video. Are you going to do a video or a live stream, one or the other?
It's probably going to be a live stream. I'm probably going to do a live stream and go through it because I would answer any questions that people
Mhm.
have as they come up because there's a lot of information in there, but no evidence. The
Yeah.
evidence, essentially, the evidence in there points to my innocence, points to
Yes.
it's all evidence of acquittal. So,
That's what I tell people, like people that were in my comment section, calling you names. I said, It's not that he was just found not guilty. He proved his innocence. His innocence was proved, which is not
yeah,
necessary to not go to jail or
there's a
prison,
reason.
but
There's a
you
reason
are
it took.
actually innocent."
There's a reason it took the jury between 15 and 30. There wasn't a clock back
Mhm.
there, but it was between 15 and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
When the jury we all left the courtroom. They took me to the back to feed me a bologna sandwich, and then they were going to send me back to my cell because they thought
Mhm.
that jury was going to be out the rest of the day,
Mhm.
and they called them back less than 15 to 30 minutes later and said bring him
Yeah.
back up. So it's definitely going to be a deep dive into that case for the people that are interested in how it went down. So if you're into that type of thing, definitely come check it out. I'm not sure there'll be a community update whenever I'm ready.
Mhm.
Like I said, there's some redacting of names that I have
Yeah.
to do. But it's going to be soon.
Well, definitely let me know. Send me a text because I'm not always on the
Oh,
internet.
for
So
sure.
send
I
me a
will. Yeah,
text just so I know, so I'm there for sure.
definitely. I'll let you know.
And I'll post it on my community page too, so all of you will know to head on over
Yay.
there. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you for everybody who contributed to the show tonight. I appreciate all of you as well. So does Zena. Say goodnight, Zena. She's already asleep.
Good
We'll
night,
see you guys.
Zena.
Oh, coming up, I'm going to be out of town this coming up weekend. I will definitely hit the live button at 4:30 on Sunday. I don't know where I'm going to be or I'm going to talk about, but I promise you guys every Sunday at 4:30 I will be here, even if it's just for a few minutes. So somewhere from Eastern Tennessee, I will hit the live button and we will see you guys then. Bye, guys.
I can't understand what you're saying. We're late stage in the catacombs. Shuffling a single card today. Broken table trying to play some ping pong. It's not subtle when we celebrate a magazine with the pages torn. My body cracks, knees buckling. I got a bad case of brain fog. Said I got a bad case of brain fog. So I'ma take my butt home. So I'ma take my butt home.